You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, General Hospital fans, there is a power alliance forming soon to take down Drew and reveal his worst antics to Willow so she will dump him. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I want to talk about this twosome that decides to expose terrible deeds as promised in recent spoilers, but please click subscribe if you're not following us. So the big deal about this alliance forming is that it is an unlikely alliance. That's the adjective they're using, unlikely. I always love it when rivals or enemies have to work together toward a common goal. In this case, both sides of the alliance want to show Willow Corinthos what a garbage human that Drew Quartermaine is, so she will dump him like a hot potato. The big question is, who are these two unlikely allies that soon work together? Well, off the top of my head, I just feel pretty certain that one half of this unlikely alliance has got to be Nina Reeves, right? She is the one who most wants to rip the blinders off of Willow so she can see that Drew is not a hero, not someone to waste your time with, that he is just a terrible person masquerading as a hero. And let's face it, Nina hasn't, for most of the time they've been in each other's orbit, she has not been a big fan of Drew's. She did have a soft spot there for him for a minute while they were first bumping naughty bits, well, I guess actually a little bit after they started bumping naughty bits, because it started out as hate sex and then evolved into her, liking him along the way. And then she was betting him to keep him away from her daughter. But along the way, for just a couple of minutes, Nina developed some respect for Drew, some affection for Drew, and that's why she helped him win that congressional seat. But then when Nina found out Drew boinked her daughter Willow, of course, she lost all respect, and she has pretty much hated him since then. Even worse is Drew was trying to rationalize to Nina about sleeping with both her and her daughter. If you remember that, Drew said to Nina, it's not as icky as you think because I didn't go back and sleep with you after I slept with Willow, and I'm sure she wanted to give him a slow clap for that. It's like, okay, that's fine then. I mean, if Nina could get away with it, she would probably burn Drew down to the ground. But the problem is Nina does not want the truth about her and Drew sleeping together to come out to Willow. And of course, Nina is very worried that Willow may hate both her and Drew if it comes out. So Nina needs somebody else to come along and target Drew basically for her. She can help, but she can't be seen doing it directly. And, now to figure out the other half of the alliance, we need to think about who really, really wants to take Drew down that would seem unlikely to work with Nina. I do think Michael is somewhat unlikely, but strangely, I could see Nina working with Michael if he agreed to joint custody, no fight. I won't throw all the Quartermaine assets and power behind it. Let's be amicable. So because Nina and Michael have worked together before in the past, when one was leveraging the other, I just don't think this is the duo from the spoilers because they are somewhat likely. Another option, though, that would definitely be unlikely would be Jason and Nina. This is not a duo that anyone would ever imagine working together. They're not fans of each other, and his being Carly's best friend makes it much worse. So Jason and Nina, yeah, that's unlikely. And I could see them both wanting to see Drew knock down a peg or two or five. And unlikely is a very good word to think about Carly and to think about Jason and Nina. And they'd also have to keep it super quiet because Carly would pitch a fit if she found out Jason was conspiring with Nina, even if it was to benefit Michael. And speaking of Sonny's other ex, Carly is actually somebody who would be an unlikely ally working with Nina to expose Drew's worst side to Willow, so she'll dump him. The big issue with Nina working with Carly right now, other than their sunny history, is because they're on different sides of a custody fight over their grandkids. But if they think conspiring would result in joint custody and a peaceful way forward, even, maybe a path to a possible future reconciliation for Willow and Michael, then I could see Nina and Carly setting aside their differences for the greater good for just a minute. What's problematic about Nina working with either Carly or Jason is this. If either of them found out that Nina had slept with Drew, they would probably run tell Willow, because that is an absolute deal breaker as far as most people would see it. Like, how would Willow even process Drew sleeping with her mother? That should do it. And if they could damage Willow and Nina's relationship, they'd probably do it. So that would be a problem with either Carly or Jason as this ally. But Nina, might go into it thinking she could keep her dirty Drew secret hidden from her co-conspirator. So more ideal, though, would be Nina finding somebody to work with who might not reveal her secret fling with Drew if they found it out. And, so I think I could see Tracy Quartermaine in that role. She's not a fan of Nina's in any way, so they would be unlikely allies as well, because Nina is Team Willow and Tracy is Team Michael, and they've never been ladies who lunch. They don't get along. I think she files, Nina away like where she thinks about Lucy, just in that drawer of annoying women. And there's plenty of animosity on both sides. Plus, if Tracy finds out Drew and Nina were doing the deed, Tracy might keep that hidden instead of exposing it, so that she could blackmail Nina later if she wanted to, because Tracy might see Nina as a good resource to have in her hip pocket, and that dirty Drew sex secret would be excellent blackmail. One thing I do know from recent spoilers is whoever this ally is working with Nina to take down Drew needs to act fast, because he just convinced Willow to go to his congressional swearing in and bring Wiley along. Michael finds out at the end of this week, and then he's going to use that against Willow. And, there's no denying, I don't think Willow's even remotely interested in working on her marriage. She thought about it for about 40 seconds before she agreed to go with Drew to DC. And of course, that means that Willow would probably be in Drew's bed on that trip while traveling with Michael's son, and, with his mom carrying on with her affair right under his nose with Wiley's great uncle. So just icky, sticky stuff. So the other 2025 spoiler says that Willow and Drew ignore the haters and press on and form a real relationship. Willow makes a commitment to Drew. And of course, we know Michael's going to be off the scene soon, either leaving town or in a coma. Those are pretty much the only two options if you're not dying. So then a spoiler for Willow for later this year, well after Michael exits, says there's a big test of her commitment to Drew. And that also tells us, by the way, that the unlikely alliance that we have been talking about, probably Nina and some other random person, is not going to succeed, because it sounds like Willow and Drew are still together way deep into this year.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.